Okay, so if you try these, let's start off with g of 10. I'm just going to create these as coordinates because whatever you're plugging into your x is your x value. Whatever it spits you out is your y value. Okay, so if I plug in 10 into my x, half of 10 is 5. That's g of 10. For a 10 value on the x, I have a 5 value on the y. So if you were to graph this on your graphing calculator, you're going to see if you go over 10 units on the x, you're at 5 units on the y. The next is g of 1/5. So that means if I were to plug a 1/5 into my x value, I would get half of 1/5 is 1/10, or 1/5 times 1/2, which is 1/10. Okay, next thing is g of 0. If I plug a 0 into my x value, I get a 0 into my y value. So if you were to look at that, you should understand that this means that this goes through the origin, because 0, 0 is the origin on any graph. Last one is r of -8. If I plug a -8 into here, r of -8 does not exist on this graph, because look, if you simplify this, you're going to get the square root of a -3. Square root of a negative is an imaginary number that does not exist, so therefore -8 is not on that graph. That graph, if you go over a -8, that you will not hit that graph. That's what it means. So I tell you, normally these notes is what I put on the overhead when we're doing the class. That's why it says talk with your partners and talk about all your x values that you have. Okay. All right, so next thing is I give you two more functions, h of x and g of x, and I give you a value for each. So let's see if we can just do these real quick. Try it in your head, because you guys, this is IM3 STEM. You guys should be able to do a lot of this stuff in the beginning in your head. So pause the video, see if you can do the function for 25 for h and the -2 for g. All right, so go ahead and pause it. Okay, so you should have paused it. And if I plug in 25 for h, what am I getting for my y value? What's it spitting me out? Well, -1/5 times 25 is -5, plus 2 is -3. Make sure I did that right real quick. 25 divided by -5 is -5 plus 2 is -3. Yeah. All right, good. I didn't screw it up. Sometimes when I do math real quick, I'll mess up super easy things. The next thing is, what is g of -2? So if you square -2, you're going to get 4, and -3, you're going to get 1. So if you square -2 into the graph, you're going to get 4. -3 is 1. That's your value. The next thing is a little more difficult. It says solve for h of x if the value for h of x equals 42. So what that's saying is this. H of x is -1/5x plus 2. But now it's telling you h of x actually equals 42. Solve for x. That's what it means. So you should all be able to do this very simple. You're going to subtract 2 to get 40, multiply both sides by -5 to solve for your x. The second part, it says solve g of x if it equals -7. So what that means is g of x is x squared minus 3. It says solve for g of x if the value equals -7. All right, well, how do you solve for this? You add 3 to both sides, and you're going to square root it afterwards. So you get x squared equals -4. Now, there is no real solution with this. The reason why is because when you solve for this, if you square root both sides, you're going to get the square root of a negative number. It's impossible. You can't do that. But for the sake of this, of continuing on, you would get plus and minus 2i. If you remember from last year, I is the square root of -1. You can say two things that has an imaginary solution, which is plus and minus 2i, or there are no real solutions to it. If I lost any of you, if I went through any of this a little too fast, go back and rewind this video and then stop it, go then do the next step, stop it, take your time while you're doing it. The video is not for you to watch in its entirety from start to finish without stopping and trying it yourself. If you can stop it, rewind it, you might catch where you got lost in this. Anyways, the very first assignment from the book, from chapter 1, is, let me make sure we are in chapter 1. Yeah, we are in chapter 1. Is number 17, 24, 25, 26, and 56. 17, 24, 25, 26, and 56. So on a separate piece of paper, please get out a separate piece of paper and do this assignment. Also, where these notes were, you're going to see it says answers to first assignment. Click on that attachment, and those are the answers to this first assignment. And then when you're done with this, come back in at Zoom, and I'm going to be available to answer any questions that you have as well. All right, thanks.